This is not going to be the usual Theo video. It's weird to talk about these types of things because they're really deep in the mechanics of how businesses and teams operate, and it's also a really personal story. More than ever, the things I'm going to talk about here might not apply to you and your role and your life and the specific position and team you're in. So don't take anything I say here as gospel on the right way to deal with the workplace that you're in. This is meant to be a conversation about the things I succeeded and, more importantly, the things I failed in as I got good at coding. A lot of this is going to be about my personal experience and the failures that I had when I started getting better at code, and hopefully it's going to be helpful to you guys as well. So if you're a good engineer or even a great engineer and you're getting frustrated with your workplace, or you hope to be in that position someday, hopefully there is something of value for you here. But if not, at least the sponsor will bring you some value.
Feels like AI can do almost anything nowadays. There are some things it struggles with, though. One of those is web browsing. Not because it can't do it. We've seen incredible demos of AI browsing the web, but what browser is it going to use? And how is it going to get access to it, spin it up, and actually search the web for things? What's it going to do when it hits a CAPTCHA? What's it going to do when it hits a rate limit? All of these problems are obnoxious to solve. That is, unless you're using today's sponsor, Browserbase. This is the browser for your AI, the browser you can hit via API, the Puppeteer instance of the cloud that you'll never have to worry about again. And so in my life as a serverless dev, just trying to get some data from a random web page, way easier. If you've seen OpenAI's new computer use model, the one that can take control of a computer, it might seem really good until you realize you don't have a computer it can use, certainly on a browser. Well, Browserbase just added support for computer use. It is hilariously nice. 91% faster than almost any other way to spin up a browser environment. Certainly way faster than doing it on your local machine. If you're not using something like Browserbase, you're probably spinning up a whole VM with an actual graphical interface that opens a browser to let OpenAI's computer use model come in and control it. What do you need an infra team in order to spin up the browsers that your AI models are using? It makes all the sense in the world, and I will be honest, I didn't get it at first until I started playing with it, and I saw more and more of these browser automation use cases. And now I understand why every company is starting to look into Browserbase, from obviously Vercel and Perplexity, both have obvious benefits, but even companies like mine as we try to scrape more data from the web using these awesome new tools and agents. If you're building with AI and that AI needs a browser, check out Browserbase today at soydev.link/browserbase. This rant was triggered by a message from the chatter Huijiro, hopefully I pronounced his name correctly here. And it was a really good question. Mind if I ask you for advice on managing a thick-headed boss? I've been assigned work that feels 3 to 4 times bigger than other teams inside the company, and I work alone. I feel like this is the fault of myself, trying my best to work well and fast, but I guess I shot myself in the foot, and this is not sustainable. I have felt this exact way far too many times in my career, and I don't know how to explain this other than to get personal with it. First, though, I want to challenge you, the viewer, and also the chatter. Think about where you're at in your career. The most important question before you can do any more deep diving here is, how important are you to the company? This is a hard thing to judge, especially when you're still new or even if you're there for a while but lower level. You got to think about the bus factor. If you were to disappear or stop contributing to this code base or working at this company, how much does that hurt them or slow them down? There are far too few devs who take the time to think about this because the answer kind of sucks in both ways. Either you're not essential, which means they can let go of you at any time and be fine, and that is a harsh reality to face, or you are essential, and now you're kind of trapped forever because if you stop, everything that you've ever worked on, all the people you hired fail underneath, and it sucks. So it's a hard question to ask, and I think that's why most devs don't bother. It's not easy to accept either that you're not essential to the company or that you are essential, and now you're stuck maintaining all of these things, possibly indefinitely. Let's assume you've figured this out now and you've realized oh, I'm pretty essential here. It would be really hard for them to operate without me. This is the experience I had, and I came there in a weird way. I hopped teams a lot when I was at Twitch. In my first year, the name of my team and the people I worked with changed 3 times, roughly. There was even a window there where I switched my office twice in 2 weeks. Yes. Actually, I switched where my desk was 4 times in 3 weeks, and I switched the actual office I was in twice in 2 weeks. It was an insane pile of reorgs and people being hopped around and moved. I got shuffled to working on the video on demand platform, which is how people watch things on Twitch when they're done being streamed. Turns out nobody does that, which is why the week after I joined the team, it got cut in half and I had to go find a role somewhere else. I had friends in the safety org, so I decided to chat with them. It went really well and they pulled me in.
And I am so thankful they did. I would almost certainly not be here on YouTube today if it wasn't for the incredible, exciting, and just supportive experience I had when I switched to that team. I was on that team for 3 years because of how much they helped me be better. The first crazy thing that happened when I joined the team was my manager within less than a month, and I think it was our second or third one-on-one, just immediately brought up, you're underleveled. You're not being paid the right amount for the work you're doing, and your role does not represent the quality and reliability of the things that you're putting out. I've never done a promotion before, but I'm going to figure it out because you're getting screwed right now. And that was such a shift for me to have a manager batting for me and fighting for me in that way, recognizing these things and forcing me to reflect and recognize myself. Like, where am I at? What level am I actually? And I owe that manager so much. I am so lucky my first few managers when I worked at Twitch were as incredible as they were. They set me up for so much success. And it's heartbreaking to see the people who don't have that level of quality in their leadership because you have to DIY the same things that I was just given. When I was given that promotion, I was given the opportunity to reflect on how important I was to the workplace and be more realistic about what I could and couldn't do. It gave me the confidence to suggest big changes to how we were building tools and introduce new libraries and solutions to problems. It gave me the buy-in I needed to take these steps further and challenge people on the way they were doing things and request more money when I got a raise and push to get a hire that we might not have gotten otherwise because I thought this person was great. All of this happened because I realized I kind of have some leverage here. I know what I'm doing, and this team now is kind of built around the speed and the way that I build. Once I had that realization, things got both a lot easier, but also a lot busier. I didn't have the fear that I was overstepping. I just had more questions and looked for more opportunities. I was hopping into meetings with teams that certainly were not mine and constantly getting questions from people asking, why was I talking to them? And then I would tell them, be like, oh, that actually helps us a ton. And my environment and my team was really supportive of this. They were hyped seeing me helping out other teams. We actually started to strategize around this, where when other teams would block things that safety thought was important, we would do swaps where they would send me to that team for a little bit. They would send an engineer over to ours. We knew that engineer wasn't going to get anything done on our team, but I would unblock their roadmap so they could actually add the safety features that we cared about. The result was awesome. We had way more leverage than ever as a team. Twitch was safer as a result. And I was happy getting to have my hand in so many different things. But in terms of my role and level and salary, things had kind of plateaued. A lot of this was because I had a huge stock grant that was worth a lot more because Amazon blew up. So I wouldn't get promotions and raises because that would counteract. It was a whole mess of how I was being paid. But I also felt like I was running out of things to do on that team. So I swapped teams. That team swap showed me so much. I think I've called it the biggest mistake of my career, but in retrospect, so much of what I am today happened from what I learned when I did that team swap. I left safety to work in the creator org because I loved Twitch creators and I wanted to help them do better content by having better tools. I wanted to get the creator tools to a similar quality level that the moderators had with new things like ModView. And I failed, but I learned a lot from this failure. Specifically, I saw how important I was to the safety team because when I left, they were heartbroken. Since I was technically still not a senior role when I left that team, the seat that was left when I quit and moved was a mid-level engineering seat. You can't just hire another random mid-level engineer and get your team back to where it was. Even if it looks the same on the table, it's not the same in terms of the speed that you're shipping. This showed me a ton of different things. First, that my value is greater than any 1 or 2 or even 3 normal level engineers, not because I'm a way better engineer than them, simply because I can ship faster and solve problems in a simpler, more reasonable way for a lot of things, especially on the front end and the back end front end relationship side. When it came to building really complex systems that could be maintained for years, But when it came to making things much, much simpler and not adding complexity where it didn't belong, I was really good at that part. And when you're rebuilding the entire Twitch website from scratch, what we were doing at the time, ended up being a pretty useful skill that got me a lot of leverage. But because of that, my team couldn't just replace me and be back at the same speed. And I had to face that fact. I had to watch the team struggle and shuffle around trying to figure out what the future of safety looked like at Twitch. And after I left, a lot of the other people who had been on that team for a while started to as well. They're in a good state now. There's a lot of people there that I genuinely care so much about and owe a lot of my success to. But I made things a lot harder for them when I left. And that sucked to face. But then I was in a new org that had their own opinions. And the difference with this new org is that they weren't excited and supportive of a person who was there that could ship fast and had a bunch of leverage. They felt threatened by it. I was showing up and taking tickets that they'd been delaying for months, saying, oh, this will take way too much work. And I would just grab it and do it in 2 hours. And they hated me for it. They were doing everything they could to try and poke holes in everything I was doing. I had a meeting with my manager because he was upset that I was meeting with people higher up than him every week. He would constantly check my calendar to see who I was talking to and where I was, saw the people I was talking to at the company and the meetings I was being involved in, and got mad at me for it. I had never in my life had someone upset with me for the things on my calendar. And the insecurity and just fear I felt from that moment was horrifying. I immediately privated my calendar and started interviewing at other places because I was so offended by that. But it got worse, way worse. I ended up rebuilding the mobile app from scratch during a hackathon because I was so tired of the mobile team blocking stuff. We won the hackathon. We built the best Twitch app that's ever been made. And my reward was 2 trophies and an HR warning because the mobile team was so mad. And the HR warning wasn't because of the mobile team. It was because the mobile team went to my higher-ups about how upset they were. And the higher-ups in my org, who already were insecure just from me fucking being there, threw me under the bus and made HR come to clean up the fucking mess. Absolute disaster. And all of that happened for 2 reasons. First, because I was building faster and better than the people around me. And in some environments, they take the opportunity to do better. But in this particular team, in this particular environment, they took the opportunity to drag me down. And the other thing, and this one is much more on me, I was nowhere near strategic enough about how I was better than my coworkers and how I shipped more effectively. There was opportunities that I just didn't take because I didn't see them or think about them. It was a waste of my energy to spend time figuring out which of these tickets can be placed out and run in a specific way to keep from pissing people off. I ended up having to rely on other engineers that I still call friends to this day to coach me through that part. And we got to the point where I would make the whole thing in a day, send it to him, and let him slowly roll it out with me so the team could accept the timelines that these things were moving at. At the same time, I was looking for new opportunities. I was so done at this point. I convinced myself that I could just sit and be patient, though. And this is the advice I was trying to give to go back to the message here. The thing I want to say, and the thing that you should do if you're humanly capable of it, is stop doing work that isn't going to benefit your role at the company. And this drove me mad. And I outright failed at this. If there was an opportunity to make something better, like this dashboard I'm in right now, the Twitch creator dashboard, if I had a way to make this better for our creators, but it didn't immediately benefit me career-wise or my positioning on my team, it wasn't worth doing. And if I saw a coworker or a product manager or a lead or whatever proposing something that I knew would make the dashboard worse, speaking up is hurting my position at the company in order to make the product less bad for creators. And that sucked. That I felt like I was between my own role and what creators actually needed. And the fact that my org made those two things antagonistic towards each other, especially in contrast to my experience in safety, where making safety operations more efficient or making moderators happier immediately resulted in me having more leverage and more support. Helping creators hurt me on this team. The solution here was really simple. I just needed to shut the fuck up, and I couldn't do it. I still, to this day, remember the meeting where this happened. There was a proposal to change how the dashboard layout works. The proposal was that we would start syncing it on the cloud. So if you had 3 different computers and an iPad, all with your custom dashboard layout with everything sized specific ways, that would now be synced across them. There's a problem though. This split, this setup is all percentage based. So what looks good on this screen will not look good on my vertical monitor. This just went from usable to barely readable. And if I make it even narrower, that is entirely unusable. So if you have different aspect ratios for your monitors or the devices that you're using, syncing the layout is a regression. It makes the product worse, not better, because I customize my layout for my different devices. They're fine. They never need to change. Why make the product worse for no reason? The reason is we just got a new product manager on the team, and she insisted that this one random ticket on user voice with 5 upvotes was the thing we needed to do. And I shit you not, the proposal for that was going to take 5+ engineers 7+ months to do. My head nearly exploded. I sat down with this PM. We had a 30-minute meeting. It went for 2.5 hours. And it seemed like she actually understood. When I explained this and how it would actually hurt the product, she listened, she asked good questions, and I was really hopeful that this mistake wouldn't happen. There was something I didn't account for, though. It was the end of December. So we had this conversation. We all took a break for 2 to 3 weeks or so. And then we came back for the kickoff meeting for this huge new ship. I figured a lot must have changed because we had this long conversation about how bad this product change would be. We're about to have the kickoff meeting for it. And I wasn't even on the original invite. I got added last minute. And I'm thankful to whoever thought to add me because what a meeting. Someone tried to report me for sexism because of how pissed I was. I went into this meeting with the goal of sitting back and being quiet because I already gave my feedback. We already had this conversation. This is done now. And the proposal had not changed at all. It was the exact same PDF that I had read a month before. And my question to the PM was, what happened to the 2.5-hour conversation we had less than a month ago? To which she replied, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I kind of forgot about that. We actually decided that we didn't have enough data to prove your theory right, so we're just going to go through with this 7-month proposal instead. I genuinely thought I could just sit and be quiet in this meeting. That was my goal going in, and I outright failed. I exploded. Considering how pissed I was, I actually think I was relatively calm. But holy shit. That was the moment that my career at Twitch ended. Not because, it's funny enough, I didn't actually get in trouble for any of those things. My manager, as much as he was not great, he knew me well enough to stand up for me in that, and also was a streamer, so he knew I was entirely right. I had also at the same time started and was running a data experiment that tracked the aspect ratios of different displays. And of users that used more than one device, 5% had the same aspect ratio on both devices. So I was like literally entirely correct here. Like I couldn't be proven more correct than all the numbers I ran and stats I did and interviews with users. I was right. It is what it is. The frustration here is that I couldn't just let them do the wrong thing. If I actually cared about my position at Twitch and I really wanted to get the highest salary, the highest role, and be in the best place possible, I would have shut up and done the same thing that my coworker did when he built buttons that click themselves. That's a whole separate rant for another day. I will give you a quick TLDR because otherwise I'll trigger myself. See these buttons here, quick actions? The on click for these buttons doesn't trigger the action for the button. The on click triggers a state change to the active state for the button. And the active state for the button has a use effect in it that runs the action. Already terrible, but it gets worse. The state of these actions gets saved in the layout, which means if the button's in action state and you trigger something like a resize that causes the layout to save and you refresh the page, every time you load the dashboard, it'll trigger that action. This caused ads to run automatically in the middle of the League of Legends World Championship, in the middle of the PS5 reveal. And the engineer who built that got 2 promotions during my time on that team because he wrote a really fancy looking fucking PDF. It shipped because I wasn't on the team when it happened. And the best part was I wasn't on call when that bug happened. The ads team reported it to this team. They denied that it had anything to do with them because look, there's an on-click event that proves the user clicked the button. And then I, not even on call at the moment, looked at the logs and saw the page load event happened 4 milliseconds before the on-click. There is no user in the goddamn world that can click a button within 4 milliseconds of it appearing on the page. It was triggering itself. And I rewrote this whole thing because of that. They refused to merge it, but they at least were willing to merge my like quick fix that removed all the state data from the load. Added a bunch of tests saying if any of these break, ping Theo because you fucked up. They deleted all those tests when I quit and then immediately broke it again. I could rant. I have a video I've been planning for years now. The dumbest bug I've ever seen, the button that clicks itself. It'll be its own full dedicated video someday. Fuck everyone who gaslit me throughout that process. You should all be fired for your shit. It's 2 people and they both know who they are. If you're not sure if this is you, it's not you, you're fine. I know this is going to go around. I know how my videos do at Twitch. I know you guys are going to fucking watch. I'm over 4 years out now. You can't come after me. Sorry, guys. Anyways, the reason I'm bringing all of this up is because I went from being a great engineer on a good engineering team to being the best engineer on a shit team. Being the best engineer on a good team is great because you're surrounded with people who want to do better, who want to push themselves and want to excel and improve themselves. And if you don't have people around you that are at least trying to keep up, you're screwed and you need to get out of that situation. If you want to move forward and no one else wants to move at all, you're never going to be happy. And it sucks that that's reality. But there are some silver linings here. The first one is what happens when you find those people. You will find some at your current job. There is no company with more than 5 people that doesn't have at least one that's a bit motivated. And I've basically collected these people like Pokemon throughout my career. To this day, I have so many random people from like when I was in university, hell, when I was in high school, to people I worked with on random teams, to people I collaborated with for one feature on a product that are still people I talk to this day that I consider good friends. Some of them mentored me, some of them I mentored, some of them are the reason I learned React in the first place. And then the people who taught me React at Twitch showed up at ReactConf. I was so hyped to see them. And then Dan Abramov came in to check in on me and see how I was doing. And they were like, wait, what? These moments are not rare. You will find so many of them throughout your career, but only if you do this one important thing. You need to find these people. If you're motivated enough to be however many minutes we are into this video, too many, I don't even want to think about it. If you're sticking around these types of videos for this long, you're watching my stuff, you're progressing as an engineer, and you know the feeling I'm talking about. You have exceeded and excelled past not just where the people around you are, but where they want to go. If you want it more than they do, or you want it and they don't, you're screwed. But the people who want it make themselves known very quickly when given the opportunity. And I have been one to misjudge this. I've had people that I was sure didn't want to really progress in their careers. They were happy with where they were. But as soon as I gave them a little more buy-in or just said, wow, that was a really good solution to that problem, all of a sudden they cared a lot more. And some of these people are some of my best friends now. I gave them the slightest nudge and they ran so far with it. And there's a bunch of these people in my chat right now. Here's one from earlier from Void. Crazy how much I've grown as a dev in just 5 months. Watched all your YouTube videos and all your Twitch past podcast stuff, and I'm surprised at myself how well I code now and what I find more valuable. Reading others' code and understanding it. This message is not about me. It might seem like it is, but it isn't. I happened to provide an environment where someone like Void could grow and do better. But I'm not the one who made them better. I am just a tool that they used in their process to get there. That is all their hard work. I'm just a person creating these resources. But what's really cool here is now I know Void isn't just an okay dev or a good dev. He is probably already a great dev. And if he's not, he's going to be very soon because he is motivated to improve and change. And a lot of people in his position weren't in that position until someone around them pushed them to try a little harder or rewarded them for something they didn't think that much about. Once you get addicted to that feeling, once you feel what it is to progress and have more confidence and ownership over the things you're doing, you either don't care or you get addicted. The people who get addicted are very visibly addicted. That's what I am here. And if you're that type, I don't know if you can properly assimilate into people who aren't. And this is again the thing I said at the beginning, don't take my words as gospel here. I did this wrong. I'm very fortunate that I found this YouTube career that now pays way better than my job at Twitch did. It took a while to get there, but most don't. I very well could have destroyed my career by not just shutting up and letting things go. I would probably be a principal engineer at Amazon or Twitch now, making a lot of money if I could just shut up and smile through things that were stupid and just ship the thing I was told to. But I wasn't capable. And the people who around me also weren't and just cared more are still people I am close with to this day, and I value them all immensely. They are the reason that I was able to have the successful career I had because they would defend me, they would understand me, they would coach me when I was being stupid or aggressive or my autism was causing me to spaz out on things that didn't matter. And they supported me when it hurt and when it sucked. And those allies, those friendships, those people that you know you can trust matter more than any title or role or technology or feature that you ship. Find those people. And if you can't find any where you are now, find somewhere that you can. Because if they don't exist where you are, that's the truth. They don't exist where you are. And only one of two things can happen. Either they make you no longer one of those people, or you find somewhere better. I don't know which one's right for you, but I hope this video helps you figure it out for yourself. Whew. What a rant. Until next time, peace, nerds.